Hey, what's up YouTube? A little bit different format. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to make 10 short little videos on the California propositions. Some of you may be interested in this that is not in California, but mainly I acknowledge that probably a lot of you aren't going to get a lot of enjoyment out of it, other than maybe some crazy politics that goes on in California. And the first, and this is the big one, really, is Proposition 30, which is the temporary tax to fund education, guaranteed local public safety funding, and initiative constitutional amendment. So, what it is it would increase taxes on earnings over $250,000 for 7 years and sales taxes by a quarter cent for 4 years to fund schools. Guarantees public safety realignment funding, which we don't know what that means. Fiscal impact, increased state tax revenues through 2018 and 19, averaging about $6 billion annually over the next few years. Revenues available for funding state budget, and in 2012 and 13, planned spending reductions. Primarily to education programs would not occur. Okay. So, basically, it's a big tax increase on those that make over $250,000 a year, and also a sales tax increase. So, regardless of how much you make, you would still feel some impact on your wallet. And what I'll do now is I'll break down what a yes vote means and what a no vote means. If you vote yes on this measure, the state would increase personal income taxes on high-income taxpayers for 7 years and sales taxes for 4 years. The new tax revenues would be available to fund programs in the state budget. Okay, clear enough. A no vote would be that the state would not increase personal income taxes or sales taxes, and state spending reductions primary to education programs would not take effect in 2012 and 13. All right. So that's straight up what it means, but politically there's a pro and con argument for all these different ones. And I'm using voterguide.sos.ca.gov and just taking their boilerplate comments, and at the end I will state what I'm voting and why. The pro argument is, after years of cuts for schools and public safety, it's time to take a stand. Prop 30 asks the wealthiest to temporarily pay more to prevent deep school cuts, provide billions in new education funding, guarantee local public safety, and help balance the state budget. And then they say, go to yes on prop30.com. I'll make a quick comment on this right now. If your argument for pro is that the wealthiest will pay temporarily more taxes, there's no reason why next year or the following year they can't just ask for more. Why temporarily is it okay now, but not temporarily last year, or vice versa? And in fact, my wife Leia's here, and she's found some things up if we've been digging. Do you want to mention the part about the tax liability?
That the tax actually occurs retroactively.
Right.
Typically, the way that tax hikes work is that they're passed 1 year to implement the following year or 2 years later. But if passed this November, it would affect tax rates for the 2012 filing.
Right, which is a big problem, because what that means basically is, so if you're an individual that cares a lot about how much you're paying the government, you will, take
Tax
appropriate
strategy.
credits and have a strategy of deductions, and where you are both spending money in terms of private growth for your wealth, but also in terms of where your deductions that you have, something you give to charity, and so on and so forth. If you do something that's retroactive to people that make over $250,000, for example, and they've had their whole tax strategy building to the point that the year ends, and then you retroactively say that they're going to have to pay, some X percent more. What was the percentage rate? I don't remember it. But if you ask them to pay some X percentage more, that's more than they already strategized for in their taxes. So,
but actually, it's essentially like saying, surprise, you now owe for the past 12 months
something that you never planned for.
That you had no idea was coming.
Right. So it's really not fair. It's really not fair to the people that make over $250,000. I personally don't want to pay the sales tax, but that's where we go to the con argument. And so from here, a no on 30 means $50 billion in higher sales tax and income taxes would not happen. But there are no guarantee of additional money for schools. So what that's saying is, let me repeat that actually. It's $50 billion in higher sales and income taxes, but that's the money taken from this proposition if you vote yes. But there's no guarantee in the proposition. There's nothing written into the actual law that would go into effect as far as taxing in these individuals that money would go to schools. Prop 30 doesn't reform schools, the pensions, or cut waste and bureaucracy. So it's basically slapping a Band-Aid on the side of it. We'll never really know where the money goes. And educators, small businesses, and taxpayers all vote no on 30. That's the con bullet. So the problem you have is that you can't just take money and say we're going to do it for a little while until we fix things. When you're just adding more and more people onto the pile, thus growing the problem of education without real reform to education in regards to the way we handle teachers, pensions, and the school system in general. So me personally, I'm voting no on 30, regardless of how many children Jerry Brown pull in front of a camera and tell you that I have to pay or we have to pay to fix the education problem. It's not our problem to fix, it's the government's problem to fix.
And actually, when you look at this particular proposition, voting no sends a message to the Californian politicians that we're looking for reform.
Right.
Period. If this ballot initiative gets passed, that means that Californians are okay spending more in taxes
Right.
to fix an issue that the government should be moving towards reform instead of that.
Spending more in taxes to solve a problem of an aging system is kicking the can down the road. It's not being smart, it's not being proactive, and it's not good for California, particularly our education system.
So two important things related to Prop 30 is, one, California has the second highest tax rate in the entire nation.
Right.
And the other...
With one of the largest economies.
Right. And the other is that we're already seeing a large population of middle class white collar workers leaving California. A tax of this magnitude would just drive those who have the income and mobility to move out of the state to do so more quickly.
So it's it's pushing the expeditious retreat of entrepreneurs from the state, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point. And so for Proposition 30, no, sorry Jerry Brown, I don't care what you think. Take it easy guys, the next one's coming up.